Welcome to the Luxury Listing Specialist Podcast with Michael LaFido, where top luxury agents reveal their best practices, plus interviews with real estate industry influencers, thought leaders, and luxury marketing experts. You'll come away from each episode with new strategies and tactics to dominate high-end homes in any market. And now for the latest episode of Luxury Listing Specialist. Here's your host, luxury real estate expert, coach, and trainer, Michael LaFido.
Welcome back, everybody. Michael LaFido. Welcome to the Luxury Listing Specialist Podcast. I'm your host. I'm really excited to have today's guest on. And before I bring her on, just a reminder, if you have any questions about anything luxury, if you're a team leader, if you're a broker owner, if you're an individual agent, whether you're with a big brand, a small brand, if you're looking to work smarter, not harder, and increase your average sale price, chime in below or shoot me an email, michael@marketingluxurygroup.com, michael@marketingluxurygroup.com, and we'd be happy to answer any questions you have. With that being said, let's get right into today's interview. I have on a special guest. I'm really excited to bring on Julia, and Julia and I met at a conference, but more importantly, we met through a good friend of mine that has gone through our course. And Julia, tell everybody a little bit about who you are and where you're from, and then we'll talk about diversity and talk about why there is a void when it comes to training and content and information and knowledge and tools and resources in the diversity space when it comes to real estate. So first off, welcome, and tell everybody a little bit about yourself.
Thank you so much, Michael. I'm glad to be here. Thanks for having me on your show, on your podcast. My name is Julia Lashay. I am a real estate broker in Minnesota and in Texas. I have a team, the Signature Group. It's a team of 7 of us in Minneapolis, and there's a team of 2 of us in Dallas. And all over the country, we have been able and blessed to help hundreds of families a year get into homeownership. Much of our team's focus is on helping to build wealth in all communities, but also in the Black community. So in addition to that, I am a fair housing instructor. I am a number of things, I guess you could say, but primarily I focus all of my training efforts on business development, growth development, agent development, and diversity. So I've written a number of courses on diversity, and I teach and train lots of courses on diversity. And I think I heard you say, Michael, why is that even important? And so the reason I do that is because if there's 2 things everyone who knows me knows I love. I love real estate and I love real estate agents. And in order to help real estate agents actually grow, one of the ways that we do that is through education and helping them reach a more diverse and broad audience. Oftentimes, if you are just focused on one segment of business, you may be leaving money on the table. Mm-hmm. So I have a passion for teaching about diversity, 1, to make our industry better, and 2, to help agents grow their business through knowledge that they acquire about diverse segments.
Well, I love your passion and diverse segments. I'm based in Chicago. Chicago is a melting pot of not just race and ethnic, but English speaking English second language. It's just an amazing city, but some agents are from non-diverse populations. So tell us a little bit about what went into the thought process with the CDS, or the Certified Diversity Specialist Designation, which you're a co-founder of, as am I, but you teach these courses. You've been teaching, talk about all the courses you currently teach and their titles.
Sure. A number of different courses. It depends on what brokerage and what region is what we're talking about. But I think something that I just heard you say that's most important is exactly what you just said. You said, well, I'm from one area and, maybe we don't have a lot of diversity. Well, you have a lot of diversity, of course, being in Illinois, but some people may not, right. Which is also a reason why some people feel maybe diversity training has nothing to do with them, and it doesn't affect them at all. And that's not correct. So one of the classes I even teach is called What is Diversity? Because oftentimes I found when you talk about diversity, people think you're talking about a Black-white issue. And they say, well, we really don't have many Black people here, so it's kind of not a thing. But there's so many different dimensions of diversity.
Or they might say, listen, I'm based in Chicago, and I do have a lot of African American friends, or I'm familiar with diversity, but there's different forms of diversity as well. But we'll circle back to that. But keep going.
Yeah, so that's exactly my point. So yes, there's a whole class we talk on what even is diversity and the dimensions of diversity. And even if you feel you are well informed and educated in the matters of diversity, you'll find that maybe you think a certain way or that you have some unconscious biases, especially if you're selling luxury real estate. You may have some preconceived notions about what that clientele looks like or behaves like or acts like. And so we also have a class called unconscious bias that we teach. And it's a really interesting class because it talks a lot about what the mind unconsciously does and things that we unconsciously do. And so it's a really great insight on how the mind works and how you might be unconsciously being biased against people, against clients when you didn't even realize it. Oftentimes, when I talk about why diversity classes are important or why learning these things are important, again, I mentioned being able to reach all of those audiences. So maybe you are in an area where it's very diverse or not. What does your advertising look like? Is your advertising inclusive to make all people want to work with you? Or are you doing something that you don't even know you're doing that is preventing people from wanting to work with you and maybe even not reaching a whole segment of population because of how you're doing that? So we also have an advertising and marketing class that we teach. We have a how to create a diverse business strategy class. We have how to become a social equity class. And the great thing about this designation is that we have consolidated and condensed a lot of those classes into 7 modules. So this particular certified diversity specialist designation is a 7-module course where you kind of learn all of those things and how those different things tie together to help you be a more informed agent, how you can reach a broader audience, and how you can just be educated with and get all the tools and resources you need to perform in what is becoming a more and more diverse industry and a more and more diverse America.
Yeah, that's a great point. So talk to me about the different forms of diversity. We know diversity, like you mentioned, the captain obvious, the most common, right, is maybe African American, Caucasian, or Hispanic, as far as skin tone or ethnic background with diversity. But talk to me about other forms of diversity when it comes to,
Sure.
the
Well,
class.
religion is actually the number one and the oldest form dimension of diversity that differs people. We can go back to the beginning of time, and the main thing that has always separated people or differentiated people is religion. So we think that doesn't play a part in real estate, when in fact it definitely plays a part in how people make decisions. It plays a part in where they want to live. It plays a part in how they can attain financing. Religion is certainly one that's been pretty big, and even recently, again, is sexual orientation. That plays a factor into real estate. That's a dimension of diversity. Even who's buying homes. Millennials are the number one group of buyers right now. Millennials are a dimension of diversity. Age is a dimension of diversity. Lots of different things that are diverse, and it's definitely not just about what race is someone. It's about all of those different segments: sexual orientation, religion, familial status, all those kinds of things. Single women are buying houses at a greater rate, more and more every year. That's diversity. So we talk about all those things. There's so many different dimensions of diversity. Even affordable home ownership. In America, we classify people between low income, moderate income. Are you rich? Are you, all of those kinds of different things. That's diversity. And those things play a role in how we conduct business as well.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Those are all great points. And you talk about being an instructor for fair housing. Talk to us a little bit about fair housing and do's and don'ts. And do you cover some of that in the 7 modules in the designation course that you co-founded?
Absolutely. We definitely cover fair housing. Like all real estate agents, we're required to take a fair housing credit every year. And so people feel like they've gotten their fair dose of it. But I think where people don't realize that there may still be infractions are especially in our advertising. Every year, licensed real estate agents are making mistakes that don't need to be made as it relates to fair housing by poorly advertising a property or advertising yourself in a way that may be a violation of fair housing. And so one good thing, we do have a class where we'll be talking about advertising as it relates to fair housing and fair housing in general. That is definitely part of this designation. But a quick tip, a free tip, here's a freebie. A freebie is never advertise the people, the ideal people, just advertise the property. And what do I mean by that? Maybe you write, oh, this house is perfect for small families. That is a protected class, it's familial status. and you're describing a person who you feel is a perfect candidate for this property, meaning that you don't think other people are a good candidate for this property. And I'm just using one simple example.
No, that's a great point. Yeah.
We see them all the time, right? In the descriptions, people do things like that all the time. Oh, perfect walking distance for students. And you think that's totally harmless. What could the harm be? And there are harm if you are indicating a preference for a particular group of people over another. And so we talk about things like that as it relates to fair housing, making sure that we are not violating any fair housing laws, and making sure that our advertising isn't only just fair housing compliant, but also that it's actually reaching a broader audience, an audience that we want it to reach, to get us more business.
Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, recently in the Chicagoland market, I'm representing a $1.85 million home. And sometimes you have sellers that, I don't want to say micromanage, but they want to be involved with how you market, how you present the home. Mm-hmm. And this particular client, we're going to cancel and relist the home. And our multiple listing service, I'm a part of MRED. I believe we're the 5th largest multiple listing service in the United States. And they wanted to cancel and relist it to show up as a new listing. Now, at some MLSs, you have to be off 30 or 90 days. For us, you can literally cancel it out and relist it, and it wipes the slate clean, so to speak. Now, of course, the cumulative days on the market are still there, but we were going to do that, a marketing strategy, just to freshen it up a little bit. And she wanted to beef up, if you will, and tweak the remark section. I believe there's 3,000 words that you're allowed, or characters, I should say, in the description. So she took it upon herself to rewrite it and asked me to change it out to her description. And there were clear fair housing violations in there. And of course, I wasn't going to use her wording without looking it over, proofing, going back saying, hey, I think we should do this, think we should do that. But she really wanted me to use the wording that she wrote. And it was so obvious that she didn't know, but it was so obvious that there were violations there. And I, ran them by my broker after I tweaked and modified, and I showed him the before and the after, and he says, great catch. Absolutely. And again, a lot of it was perfect for a family, things like that, where, to maybe the consumer, they don't see, but that's one thing about our industry. I feel like, with our ethics and fair housing, we are held to a higher standard than most industries. And that's great. So you cover that. You cover some
Absolutely,
do's and don'ts. And on the
even
screen for those
to say, things, phrases to say and phrases not to say, not only in your advertising, but just with your clients. In fact, we have, as part of this designation, you do get kind of a workbook that has some scripts and a glossary of words and words to kind of use and words to stay away from as it relates to, because even in the environment we're in our current climate in the United States, diversity is a topic. And a lot of people shy away from having the conversations about it at all, because they simply don't know what to say, what's appropriate to say, how to approach a topic, even how to refer to someone. That's complicated for some people to say, well, I don't even know what to call them or to say or to, and so we even have a workbook that comes with this designation to help people have those conversations. And or sometimes you may have a client that asks you to do something that is a violation of fair housing or simply unethical or just against your own moral standard, Yeah. And a lot of agents are hesitant to respond to them or don't know what to say when you have a client that says, hey, I don't want to sell it to anybody that's this race or this color. How do you respond to that? Most agents don't know how to respond to that. So we have some tools available for you to use to learn, what do I say if that should happen to me? So those things are included in this class as well.
Okay, that's good to know.
Hi, it's Michael LaFido here with a quick break from the podcast. If you are committed to increasing your average sale price and you want to work smarter, not harder, then you want to check out luxurylistingspecials.com, where you'll find out more information about the Lux designation along with some additional resources. Again, I'll repeat, check out luxurylistingspecials.com. And now let's get back to the show.
You had mentioned earlier that there is 7 modules. There's 7 modules in this course, and there's a bonus module, which
Oh, yes, there's a bonus module.
Yeah. And so I'm going to try to pull up here for those there that are watching this. I'm going to try to pull up this so you can see it. But if you wouldn't mind sharing with me,
tell you about them. Yes.
Yeah, if you wouldn't mind sharing with everybody that's listening, or if people are watching, if you wouldn't mind sharing the modules and what they cover. And module 1 is what is diversity, right? That's
Right.
And
so the first module is what is diversity. And again, that's going over all the different dimensions of what diversity even could look like. It can even be, as I was teaching a class yesterday, and we had, I don't know, there was 60, 70 people in the class. And I said, even looking at your screen right now, you probably have maybe 10 people on your one screen. And just looking at the differences that you all have, there's so many different dimensions and elements of diversity, and how we can embrace that, and embrace the beauty of that, and to build off of that. So the first class really is all those different dimensions of diversity, and also including fair housing and protected classes, and making sure that we understand all of that. The second module is unconscious bias, and that is, again, how your mind responds to things unconsciously. Patterns that your mind has created from experiences you've had, or maybe experiences you haven't had. Someone told you that, or you thought that. We really explore making sure that we remove those unconscious biases so that we are able to better assist our clients. The third module is diversity, advertising, and marketing, as we were just speaking about, making sure that 1, we're compliant, and 2, we're reaching a broad audience. And then the color of real estate, that class is really about the history.
So module 4, the color of real estate.
Correct. Module 4. Thank you. The color of real estate is really about the history of real estate in America. What were the historical practices, the government practices that have led us to where we are today in real estate? There is a homeownership gap. There's a gap between households of color and white households as far as how many people own homes. Where did that come from? How did that come to be? So we do talk about the history as it relates to redlining and deed restrictions, and the deed restrictions that still exist in many people's deeds, and how we got to the place that we are now, and what our role as real estate agents actually is in making sure that we have a level playing field, that all people can obtain home ownership if they would like. And so that's kind of about the history of American real estate.
Okay.
And then module 5 is, okay, great. Now that I know what diversity is, all the dimensions of diversity, I'm cognizant of how I'm thinking about people. I'm not stereotyping. I actually understand how the mind works, and there's things I can do to remove my bias. And I've learned some practices to advertise and market to different segments of people, and I understand how real estate works. How do I use all of that to actually make a business plan? Mm-hmm. How can I incorporate all that information to create a diverse business strategy that's going to help me in my business? And in that one, we even talk about, what does your team look like? And maybe you don't have a team like I do in Minneapolis of 7 agents, but your team could be your home inspector that you refer people to, or your painter that you use sometime, or your stager. Those are all people in your team. Mm-hmm. How diverse is your team? And what are the benefits of having a diverse team? Because I always say the best way to reach a diverse audience is to have a diverse team.
That's a great point. I mean, I had on our show previously Richard Silver up in Toronto. Toronto, of course, is a melting pot of diversity, and he built his real estate team. He's with Sotheby's. A lot of different languages people speak in Toronto, just like major cities, and he built his team based on various languages. So it's a way they get a lot of business based on the diverse population they serve.
Absolutely. Yes. And so that's a big key point to keep in mind, and actually seeking out that diversity so that you can learn different perspectives. Because, I think we all think we know the right way. Right. But it's interesting when you get someone else in a room, they have a very unique perspective based on their background and their skill set. And so if you have not embraced those differences and incorporated them, you're the way you're doing your business may be very linear, when you could really value the differences that people may bring to your team. So that module is all about how to do that, create a diverse business strategy and have a plan to incorporate diversity.
Well, that's great. And so that's module 5. And then module 6, becoming a social equity leader in your community. Talk to me about that, Julia.
So maybe you want to take this even one step further. I am the past president of the Twin Cities National Association of Real Estate Brokers, which is NAREB. It's the oldest Black trade association in the country. And through that, we did a lot of community work and industry work in the real estate. I've also served on numerous boards and numerous committees as it relates to real estate. And many of them, oftentimes touch on social equity. So how do you become a social equity leader in your community? Because there's a few things that are a benefit from that. One, you get your voice heard in a number of different places. You're actually at the table. And two, it does a service to the community, and the community sees you as a community service realtor. So if you are interested in social equity and making sure that there is fairness in housing for everyone, how do you take the steps to actually get on those boards and get on those committees and utilize that? I mean, it's great to have social equity in your community, but it also gives you a little bit of a social capital when you participate at that level and you play at that level. So we talk about all of the different things that you could do to be a leader in your community, and even more so, be a social equity advocate and a social equity leader in your community.
And again, one more time for the listeners, how would you define social equity?
Social equity is fairness. We could simplify it all the way down, boil it all the way down to fairness. It is simply making sure that the practices are fair to and equitable for everyone. So we are receiving the same. We may not be receiving the exact same tools and resources, but there are tools and resources available to make sure that everyone has a fair advantage of whatever it is they want to do, and just
a level playing field, so to speak. So everybody, from a consumer, part of what we're doing in this industry as well is educating, right? Making sure agents, like we partnered up with NAREB as well. I believe they're in their 72nd annual conference, and making sure that agents have tools and resources to be successful to the various segments that they serve or that they want to serve, and as well as consumers, that they have the same fair treatment and same fair resources. Correct?
Exactly. It's literally about fairness and justice and equality in the distribution of resources.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Good.
And then, of course, we have our bonus module.
Yes. And so the bonus module, I'll speak to that, if you will.
Please do.
So the 7th module is really helping agents, I'd like to say, increase your average sale price by adding more high-end and luxury properties to your portfolio. And I do believe that there's high-end and luxury properties in every market. Maybe, you're in Iowa or, North Dakota or some Midwest area where there's not these multi-million-dollar McMansions, but I do believe high-end and luxury is all relative. We defined high-end homes as homes that are 2 times the average sale price for that given market that agent or broker serves. And we define, luxury as 3 times the average sale price. So one of the things that we really wanted to add is for any agent that is taking the Certified Diversity Specialist course is that they have a plethora of options and content and knowledge and tools and resources when it comes to the diversity and unconscious bias and do's and don'ts and the color of real estate and creating a diverse team. But we also wanted some business building practices so that they could be more successful as an agent, diversity or non-diversity specific. And that's really what Module 7 is about. And so that's, I'm the author of the book, Luxury Listing Specialist. I created a course for the California Association of Realtors, Breaking into Luxury. And we've taken that content and added and tweaked and modified and put it into a module in the CDS designation. And again, for more information, you guys can always go to diversitydesignation.com, diversitydesignation.com. You can go there for the latest information, where upcoming classes are coming, and whether it be through the Zoom world, whether it be through replay or, coming soon live face-to-face trainings as people are more comfortable with the vaccines and everything that's coming out. So that is Module 7. So talk to me about what agents get. Agents that decide, hey, this is a great great information. I'm really dedicated to differentiating my business. I'm dedicated to learning more about this. I'm dedicated to really building a diverse team because maybe I don't have a diverse clientele database, but like I tell people all the time when they talk politics in real estate, I say, hey, remember, Republicans buy large houses and Democrats buy large houses and independents buy large houses. So, being diverse is really important when you're putting together your website, when you're putting together your team. And, I'm Italian and I'm Caucasian. If I just have all Caucasian people on my team, then that doesn't necessarily look like a diverse team. And I might have an African American, I might have an Asian American, I might have somebody looking to buy or sell, and they might say, hey, this guy doesn't really have a diverse team. So talk to me about what else an agent gets that takes this certified diversity specialist, or for short, CDS designation. What else would they get, Julia?
Absolutely. So obviously you get the tools and the training and the resources you need to grow your skills and your knowledge. And then also you will have your own login to log into the diversity designation website, which will continue to allow you to have access to different resources and documents. You'll be added to our database so that we can keep you updated on information that's going on in the real estate industry as it relates to trends and diversity and home buyer trends, seller trends, issues that may help you and things that may give you the tools you need to continue to serve all kinds of diverse markets. You will also we've got a cool CDS pin that's going to allow you to showcase that you have been trained and you are a certified diversity specialist so that you can publicly demonstrate that. And there's also then gives you privileges to use that designation on any marketing materials you'd like to use it on, email signatures to say, hey, much like you do other designations. I have a ABR, I have a GRI, all of those kinds of things that people put behind their letter, those letters you put behind your name. You can also put CDS. You're also a certified diversity specialist. So all of those things you'll get from taking this workshop.
So you can leverage the logo. I mean, some people like their logo on their business cards, on their social media. You get the pin, so those of you that are looking for more information, you can go to diversitydesignation.com to take a look at the logo, look at the content, how you can obtain this designation. The cost of the course is $297. Is that correct, Julia?
That is correct.
Yeah, and I like to use the word investment. It's an investment in yourself, and it's a way to help real estate professionals develop and strengthen their understanding of cultural diversity and be aware of it and differentiate themselves and hopefully build their team to reflect, all backgrounds. And and that's really important. Talk to me a little bit about, I believe NAR has a course called At Home with Diversity. It's just like when people ask me about our course, like, with our luxury listing specialist, hey, Mike, why should somebody take your course versus, the other luxury course that's out there? And I say, listen, I recommend both. I mean, they teach some great things and we teach some things. Ours specializes in this. Theirs might specialize more in that. And
I actually have the At Home with Diversity designation.
Okay.
I have that designation, and you're exactly right. It's much like, if you say, yes, I took a listing specialist course. Well, certainly there's more than one listing specialist course that may provide you with, different vantage points or different perspectives and different information that you'll attain from taking those different ones. So that's a perfect answer, Michael, of take them both. I think you should take them both because they offer a different direction and a different perspective of the subject matter that we're talking about.
Yeah. That's good. That's really good. So that's awesome. So anybody wants more information, they could check out diversitydesignation.com, diversitydesignation.com. And Julie, if somebody wanted to reach you and pick your brain, I know you do CE courses, you mentioned, what's the best way for somebody to get in touch with you?
Best way for someone to get in touch with me is through my website, and it's julialashay.com. And that's JuliaLashay.com. And you'll find information there about real estate services, about training, coaching. And also, if you'd like to build a career in real estate, maybe you're not a real estate professional yet and you'd like to be, I can certainly talk to you about that as well. I'd love to talk to you about the wonderful world of real estate.
That's awesome. And again, all things related to luxury. If you guys have any questions for me, again, shoot me an email, michael@marketingluxurygroup.com, michael@marketingluxurygroup. If you have somebody you'd like to nominate to be on our show for an interview, if you have any questions at all, please don't hesitate to reach out. Again, we are part of the Industry Syndicate Podcast Association. Check it out, Industry Syndicate. There's other great podcasts there. And if you are dedicated to increasing your average sale price and you want to work smarter, not harder, you should really check out luxurylistingspecialist.com, luxurylistingspecialist.com. More information on our course. We have some great free resources there. We have our luxury swag. If you go to the resources tab, we have some great luxury gear. And of course, our designation, which requires 0 previous luxury sales. We recently interviewed the #1 RE/MAX luxury agent in all of Minnesota, and he's increased his average sale price by 30% since taking our course. And again, his thought process, Wade, was I can always get better. I can always take different perspectives. And if you are looking to work smarter, not harder, check out Luxury Listing Specialist. Julia, it's always a pleasure. It was great to hear from you. The next class is March 30th. Check out diversitydesignation.com. If you're listening to this after March 30th of 2021, that website gets updated frequently with where the next class is, when, etc. Check it out, diversitydesignation.com. Make it a great day. Keep raising the bar in real estate. Until next time, Michael LaFido. Take care, everybody.